is my old and new presentation. I chose to do the film Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The story is about a boy who wins a golden ticket and goes around a magical chocolate factory known as Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. The film was based on the book by Roald Dahl, which is called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Golden tickets have been hid all over the world in Wonka's chocolate bars, and the winners are an English spoilt girl, a gamer who's obsessed with TV, a German boy who doesn't stop eating, and a competitive girl who chews gum. Finally, the winner is Charlie, the poor boy who finds the ticket after the last one was told to be fake. The 5 children join their parents, and Charlie joins his grandpa as they tour around the chocolate factory. As the story progresses, each child ends up in trouble due to their personalities. The remaining child is Charlie, and he's the one that supposedly wins the prize of the chocolate factory. The 2005 remake of the film follows the same storyline but changing the look and attitudes of the characters. It also focuses a lot more on the story of Willy Wonka and his past rather than Charlie's life. Roald Dahl actually despised the original movie and soon disowned it, even though he was the screenwriter for it. Financial determinants. The budget for the original one was 2.9 million and it earned 4 million. The film was quoted as a box office disappointment. It developed into a cult film due to many TV airings, and the movie was nominated for an Academy Award. The 2005 remake, the budget was 150 million and the box office was 475 million, and the remake was a box office success. Technologies of production. The original film used a Panavision camera and lenses to film and had an aspect ratio of 1.85 to 1. The film used minimal special effects. The chocolate river was made by adding chocolate cream to 570,000 litres of water, although the result looked more like murky water rather than chocolate, whereas the remake river actually looks like it's made of chocolate. The remake of the film was used an Aeroflex 435, Panavision Premio lenses, Panavision Panaflex Millennium XL, Panavision Primo lenses, and it had an aspect ratio the same as the original, which is 1.85 to 1. It was said that Tim Burton tried to use little effects as possible as he wanted to create a comfortable environment for the children. Special effects were obviously used for the tunnel scene and the squirrels. They also used split screen to portray the many Oompa Loompas played by Deep Ray, who has also worked on other films with Tim Burton. Distribution and exhibition. The original film was released in the USA on the 30th of June 1971. The latest date for the film to be released was in Uruguay on the 14th of December 1973. It was then re-released in the USA on the 19th of July 1996. Reasons for late release date in Uruguay may have been that they had to wait for the other countries to use the film and then it was shipped over. The remake for the film was released in the USA on the 10th of July 2005. The latest release date was in Germany on the 16th of February 2007. The film was released in the UK on the 29th of July 2005. The release dates are quite close together because with the new technology it was easy to film on digital cameras and then send it to other countries. The remake took in a total of 275, that's not even right, $2,126,226 million in Italy in its first weekend of release. In the 1970s, a lot of horror films were popular with popular were Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween being released. So Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was a lighter family movie. Films such as Superman and Star Trek were released, and this ties in with the fantasy theme that Willy Wonka had. A lot of animations were being released, such as Winnie the Pooh and the Aristocats, which was developing more technology in film, which relates to the special effects used in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In 2005, the films released were a lot of fantasy films, such as Batman, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and the Chronicles of Narnia, which I think suited well with the trend of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It was, again, quite a fantasy film. And cast. I feel in the remake, a lot of the cast were more known people rather than 1971 cast, but that might have been just because I'm younger, so I didn't know any of them when I was born. But Gene Wilder played Willy Wonka in the 1971 remake, film original, and Johnny Depp played it in 2005. Jack Alberstone played Grandpa Joe, whereas David Kelly played him in the 2005 remake. Peter Ostrom played Charlie and in the original, and Freddie Highmore played him in the remake. Roy Kinnear played Mr. Salt, and James Fox played him in the remake. In the original, Julie Dawn Cole played Veruca Salt, and Julie Winter played her in the remake of it. Leonard Stone played Mr. Beauregard, whereas Missy Pyle played Miss Beauregard in the remake. And this is my star comparison. Gene Wilder had been in Bonnie and Clyde in 1967 playing Eugene Grizzard. He starred in his first TV appearance in Death of a Salesman playing Bernard in 1966. He was the voice of the Mock Turtle in Alice in Wonderland in 1999. He was a guest star in the TV show Will and Grace in 2002 and 2003, playing Mr. Steen. Johnny Depp has starred in Pirates of the Caribbean as Captain Jack Sparrow, a role he's most famous for. He also starred in other films directed by Tim Burton, including Finding Neverland in 2004 and Edward Scissorhands in 1990. He was then the voiceover in The Corpse Bride as Victor Vanport in 2005, which is another film directed by Tim Burton. He then starred in Alice in Wonderland as the Mad Hatter in 2010 and Dark Shadows as Barnabas Collins in 2012. Again, these were both directed by Tim Burton, so it's quite natural that he was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which was directed by him as well. He appeared alongside Helena Bonham Carter in both films, which is Tim Burton's wife, and she was also in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. She played Charlie's mum. And in 2015, he is due to star in another Pirates of the Caribbean film. And then I did Charlie. Freddie Highmore, who played him in the remake, starred in Finding Neverland as Peter alongside Johnny Depp, which was the reason why he got the role of Charlie, because Johnny Depp recommended him. He was the voiceover of Arthur in Arthur and the Invisibles. In the present day, he's starring as Norman Bates in Bates Motel TV show. Peter Ostrom's only film appearance was in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and he then went on to being a veterinarian. That's the only role he ever did, was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And then this was for Mr./Mrs. Beauregard. In Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Leonard Stone played Mr. Beauregard in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and then they changed it to a woman played by Missy Powell. Leonard Stone was only in one other film after Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which was Soylent Green in 1973, in which he played a character called Charles. He was the voice of a character called Leo in American Pop in 1981, and he also wrote a book in the early 1950s which was published on Kindle and Nook in 2011, and he died at the age of 88 in 2011 as well. Missy Powell has starred in Along Came Polly, Home Alone 4, and Dodgeball before Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. After that, she appeared in Just My Luck, Stormbreaker, and The Cinderella Story, Once Upon a Song. She's appeared in a lot of TV shows such as Friends, My Name is Earl, 2.5 Men, and Grey's Anatomy, Don't Trust a Bitch in Apartment 23, and Two Broke Girls. She's also starred in American Dad as a voiceover, and she brought out an album in 2008. The remake cast are a lot more famous and I think have appeared in a lot more than the other cast, I think. Obviously Charlie has as well, seen as Peter Ostrom's appearance was only in that film. Social, political and regulatory factors. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was based around poverty. In the film, Charlie's family lived in a shack and could not even afford a candy bar every week. In the film, the children are all spoilt in some way. This could be a comment on the way children are brought up, especially in the remake. A lot of the time now, children can be quite spoiled, and I think they reflected this in the film. Nowadays, a lot of families are broken, like with divorce, and I think this is reflected in the remake as it's shown between Willy Wonka and his father. And unemployment is a problem in the recent days, and this is shown in the film where Charlie's father loses his job. Synergies between films. In the remake, the Oompa Loompas were only played by one person using split screen technology, whereas in the original there were many different Oompa Loompas. In the original, a man played Violet's parents. In the remake, it was a woman. In Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the story was about Charlie. In Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the story was about Wonka. So it was a bit weird how they had different titles and they kind of switched characters. It was strange. In the original, Grandpa Joe getting out of bed was made a big deal, and in the remake it was only brief. He just literally got out of bed and that was it, whereas in the original he had like a song and a dance about it. The scene in the original when Charlie and his grandpa were in the air burping was not in the film. In the remake it was completely missed out, which I can see why it changed, because they went down like a different route with the story, but I think that scene was quite key in the original, because it kind of showed that Charlie was still like these kids where he like messed about. He couldn't like do, like he didn't do what he was told, and like it took away that that kind of innocence of him, I think, like completely cutting it out. It made him seem too innocent in the remake. The music in the two films are different. The Oompa Loompas in the remakes sung different songs in the style of different eras, so they did like the 60s kind of type music, and then the 70s and the 80s. And in the original, the Oompa Loompa music was quite similar. The songs were quite this like same beat, same kind of lyrics. There was no singing in the remake apart from being inside the Chocolate Factory. Grandpa Joe's song and Cheer Up Charlie did not appear in the remake, which I think a lot of people were annoyed about because they're both really well known, like family kind of songs, like household songs, and they missed them out in the remake. And in the remake they had a backstory relating to Wonka's childhood and his father, which they didn't have in the original because it focused more on Charlie rather than really Wonka. Vertical and horizontal interrogation. The original was produced by Paramount Pictures and the remake was produced by Warner Brothers and Tim Burton Productions. The distributors for both films were Warner Brothers. Tim Burton's worked on many films with Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter's, who both starred in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory film. And then I did an overview of both films, like what I thought about them. I felt as though the remake in the film was a lot better than the original. I felt this because it seemed like they were actually at a chocolate factory in the remake, and it was all kind of, when I saw the image of them walking into it, like, it got me excited, whereas in the original I felt that it was a bit kind of boring, a bit bland. I didn't feel like excited about this chocolate factory. I felt as though the burping scene was one of the main scenes in the original, and I would have liked to see it in the remake because I think it might have been good to see what they remade it like as. Although I know this was done because the stories were both different. I liked that Willy Wonka had a backstory in the remake. It made the story fresh and different to the original, because I think if they had done the original and then they'd done it completely the same, I don't think people would have found it as interesting. I think the remake was funnier and more different because of the direction of Tim Burton, and all of Tim Burton's films that he has done are very different. They're very weird and strange, and I think that he was a perfect person to choose to direct the remake because it was just brilliant. I think the actors in the remake were better than in the original. Johnny Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, and Freddie Highmore are just brilliant actors, and I felt they kind of brought more to the role. I felt more relatable to Willy Wonka with his whole childhood backstory, and I thought he was funnier, and it really showed that he had a dark past with his father, and I think Johnny Depp's acting is amazing. I like the original. It's a really loved children's film, but I felt more excited and more intrigued by the remake, which is why I gave the remake 4 stars and the original 3.